Because if I'm allowed to say my top well-being tip, if I might hesitate to share this, is don't listen to well-being tips. You are you. And the thing with being you is that essentially because you are not anyone or everyone else, what works for anyone and everyone else is not necessarily going to work for you.
Oh my gosh, super duper excited today because it's a bit special. In fact, before I even introduce my special guest today, we've got camera, we've got sound, we're in a proper studio. A shout out to Malcolm. All right, so Malcolm, listen to our previous podcasts. Malcolm, so they were done in my car, last 2 seasons, it's me in my car on an iPhone. And Malcolm's that kind of guy who he listens every single week and then he sends me an email to say how rubbish it is. He says, it's cheap, it's done in your car, it's done on an iPhone, you've got no guests. Malk, check it out, because I know you're watching or I know you're listening. So I've got guests today, so I'm super excited, delighted and honoured to be in a studio, having spent a little bit of our budget today on this podcast, this new series. So I've got Hannah Knowles and I've got Will Hussey. So they're both authors, and they're both also being Braille trainers. And what we're going to try and do in this season is I'm going to rope whoever I can in to come and sit in the studio with me and talk about, we're going to riff on a theme, basically. So my theme today, I thought, where would we go with the first one? Top well-being tips that people haven't heard before. Okay. So Will, let's go with Will first. Will, give us a top well-being tip, mate, that you think these people haven't heard before.
Well, thank you, Andy. I think, first of all, I need to say thank you for roping me in.
Yeah. Well, you were passing by. I thought, yeah. Come on.
But maybe you need to keep me on a short rope because I'm a little bit afraid that I might derail this podcast before it's really begun. Because if I'm allowed to say my top well-being tip, if I might hesitate to share this, is don't listen to well-being tips, which sounds a little bit counterintuitive.
We need to go, mate, because because it's ridiculous. Yes, go on, explain.
Well, it's just the thing with well-being, right? We all talk about well-being, and in the back of my mind, I've got this thought that essentially all of us listeners, you are not anyone or everyone else, okay? Which might sound obvious. You are you. And the thing with being you, and you are the you in unique, is that essentially because you are not anyone or everyone else, what works for anyone and everyone else is not necessarily going to work for you. If that makes some sort of sense.
It does, Will.
And I kind of think that there's lots of great well-being tips and advice around there which doesn't land.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't land, then people think, well, what's going on here? There's confusion. Is it me? Is it the well-being tips? What's going on? And I kind of think, yeah, advice, YouTube videos, brilliant podcasts even might get you 75%, 3/4 of the way there.
Yeah.
But there comes a time when you've got to figure stuff out for yourself. So maybe the not listening is probably as important as the listening.
That's such a beautiful counterintuitive. I just went to my pad to write something down. I know you two know it, but déjà vu, right? Because are we allowed to? I haven't worked out if we're allowed to swear. We've got a bleeping machine, so we know what déjà vu is. Déjà vu is when you sort of feel that you've been there before. You've heard the same thing before, the same old top tip. Déjà vu, we normally talk about it in leadership, is when you've heard this same old bull again and again. It comes around and around, and I kind of quite like it. I think what you're saying there is there are some top tips that are applicable, but actually the unique piece of you, that's why it might not work for you. All right, so that's great. That gives us a starting point. 8.
It certainly does.
Let's build.
Oh, yeah.
Let's build. What do you think? Give us a top well-being tip that you think the listeners and the viewers have never heard before.
Well, kind of similar to the direction of travel that Will's just mentioned is to have like a non-self-improvement day. Because you know what it's like when you're doing what we do, it's about learning all the time. It's about growing all the time. And it can, I don't know, mate, I find it exhausting, trying a drive and listening to so many podcasts. And
on 1.5 speed now, or double speed.
Well, I don't do that, but I know people that do. And reading all the self-help books that are out there and constantly trying to, I guess, fill every available moment with learning something and getting better and self-improvement. And again, a bit like where Will's going is maybe we just take the pressure off ourselves. Give yourself a day off and not do that. So
Yeah.
spend a day where you just listen to some music on a drive instead of listening to a podcast, or read a novel. Dare to read a novel instead of a self-help book.
I think if I'm allowed to jump in here,
Go for
well,
it.
it sounds to me that that's a little. Apologies for mansplaining if this suddenly comes over like.
I'm manspreading here, mate. You can mansplain.
But you're almost, that's kind of giving yourself a space, isn't it? Breathing space, which is giving yourself a gap. And I kind of think that gap is exactly what we're talking about. We've said that, other people's well-being tips, whatever, can get you 75% of the way. But that 25% gives yourself the space, the gap to take something called responsibility for your well-being. And I think I'm trying to be really careful how I say this, because I get it, the world's tough, etc., etc., etc. But ultimately, figuring out what works for you is taking responsibility. And that's really hard, because I think it's so tempting and so easy to outsource our responsibility. And then understandable, because there's a lot going on, it's full on, but actually only you can figure out what works for you. And you got to look, right? You've absolutely got to look. Where you look, I'm not quite so sure sometimes, but I think that's what we're talking about.
Definitely. And I think as well, like thinking about some of the stuff we talk about in like our keynotes and workshops, I often say there's one thing knowing this stuff and there's another thing doing it. And that idea of personal responsibility is about the action. So yes, we might plant seeds and people walk away feeling inspired and motivated. But if they don't do anything with it, if they don't sort of take that ownership, what's the point? So I very much sort of always pitch my sort of talks around sort of take what works and leave what doesn't, and then just have a little play around with it. Treat it like, I think Tim Ferriss uses this idea of treat everything like an experiment. Just have a go. Stop putting the pressure on yourself. Try this out. If it works, keep going. If it doesn't, leave it. I like that.
Yeah, I do think also in like 20 years of doing this is that the word habituation applies to everything. So basically, when you've done something for a long time, it starts to become, it's just habit, and it loses its power, it loses its potency. So even the top well-being tips that you might be doing, even gratitude, you can prove that gratitude works initially. You do your 3 things and it works for about 6 months, and then it stops working because it becomes habituated. So I think even in your top tips that you're doing in your own life is keep freshening them up. Otherwise they become habituated and they actually stop working. So mine was I know I do this on keynotes all the time and still do it, about not having toothache. So my big breakthrough in 2008 was, it's kind of obvious really, but waking up in the morning and being really glad that I've not got toothache, like celebrating that just for a nanosecond. And if you look at when did you last have toothache, because if you've had it, it's absolutely awful and it ruins your entire life. But actually not. So waking up in 2008 and consciously, deliberately choosing to remember that I've not got toothache really made a huge difference to my energy. Literally 15 seconds after getting out of bed, I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go, another day. But oh, hang on, no toothache, fantastic. What a great start to the day. And I'm into the day, straight away I'm into the day. And because I've got loads of energy then, when I'm downstairs making the toast, the kids are happier because dad's happier, they went to school happy because I was happy. And I was happy because I didn't have toothache. And I did that for about a year and it kind of worked, it worked. But then I just had to shake it up, and I did 2009, I think it was the year of the kidney. I changed it. I did, how many kidneys do you mean? My kidneys. So it kind of same principle, but just freshening the top tip up really. And I know that if I sort of stopped delivering that top tip now because people roll their eyes going, oh, it's just silly or it's stupid or it's overly simplified. But I have to say that was actually back in 2008, a really, honestly, that was probably the thing that I did that made me realize that you can choose to get out of bed the right side or the wrong side. And I've got a choice about how I start my day and how I tap my day. So, I mean, that's probably is a top tip you have heard before. If you've ever heard me delivering a keynote, I'll probably put that in there. But it's an example of habituation of like it started to get it stopped working with toothache, no toothache. Kidneys, they'll always be part of your body that is working, people. So thank it in the morning. Anything else, Will? What else have you got? Like, because we've told people so far that to stop listening to top wellbeing tips,
Absolutely.
and to not do anything, and be grateful they've got toothache. Is there anything tangible, slightly left field
Okay.
that they could do?
Maybe we need to rebrand well-being, right? Instead of just well-being, right? If you replace the well part with the word human, right, and we start to consider human being tips, I think it sounds a little bit more manageable, a little bit more simple. Okay. Go back thousands of years ago, right? Human being tips was a case of survival, right? Eat, move, sleep. Okay. Arguably, it's got a little bit more complicated now, but it shouldn't be a lot more complicated. What do you need to be to exist as a fairly reasonable, grounded, well-rounded human being today? Well, maybe you need to, I don't know, talk to people, eat good food, get some fresh air, do a little bit of exercise, walk to the bus, that kind of thing. I don't think that well-being tips need to be kind of, I don't know, kale soup at 5 o'clock in the morning. And
Well, that was mine. I've just written that one down.
but I think there's a hesitation to like complicate things and to maybe listen to well-being podcasts to find golden nuggets of wisdom when maybe the golden nuggets of wisdom are
Usually friends listen to the top tips, and now you're saying do listen to the top tips. No, it's absolutely brilliant, mate, isn't it? Because you're talking about the human being. We're back to the original, we are us, uniquely us. And I think that taps into what we talk about in our keynote sometimes, the move from your to-do list to your to-be list. Who are you being while you're doing the things on your to-do list? And I think we're back to personal responsibility with that one as well. Like, who am I being while I'm showing up for my wife and kids and grandkids? And that rests with me. So I can blame the external world, and I can blame the manager. Oh, I am the manager in this instance, but I could blame my boss. I could blame my wife. I could blame the government. I can blame the world. I can blame the weather. But I can't do much about any of those things. But I can do something about me. And that's the sort of human being part of it. H, have you got anything? I mean, I keep scribbling stuff down that I could talk about, but
Yeah.
I'm not used to having guests. It's normally just me rabbiting
You
off to
and your
myself.
car.
Yeah, for car, yeah. So must let guests speak.
Yeah, so the one that sort of really made a difference to me in the last year. So I heard somebody talk about it. So like an ex-Olympian, and in terms of what you were saying, Will, about that sort of keeping it simple, I think this is so simple, and it links to personal responsibility. So she says that her rule when it comes to interacting with other people is I'll go first. So she says for a conversation to happen, someone's got to start it off. So she puts the responsibility on herself, being like, well, it might as well be me.
Yeah.
So her rule is when she goes out for a walk in the morning with the dog, I'll go first. I'll be the first one to say hello, good morning. When she goes to the shops, thank you, how's your day going, checking in with. And she says that what happens time and time again is that she has these amazing interactions with people that were missed opportunities previously because she didn't go first, because the other person didn't start it. So taking that responsibility of I'll go first, because I mean, we're wired to connect, aren't we? So taking that and running with it, I've applied it, yes, when I go for a walk in the morning with the dog, when I go to the shops, but I've taken it further. You can imagine I would, wouldn't you? We all know I would. But it's like, when I talk to teenagers in secondary schools about resilience, I tell teachers, go first. Tell them about a time you failed. Tell them about a time when you didn't give up, so that they're learning from you that you're not perfect. When I take Daisy, I mean, she's only 18 months, so we start young in our house, but I want her to be kind. So when we do the walk in the morning, I pick up litter. So she sees that's a normal thing to do because you care about where you live. I'll go first. If I want people to be the best version of themselves, that responsibility, it starts with you.
And to me, that's like the ultimate taking responsibility. That's taking initiative,
Yes.
essentially, isn't it? That's kind of making stuff happen rather than just waiting and hoping for it to happen. Now, I think that this episode has now reached another level. We're digging below the superficial because now you're talking about what you actually do. I'm thinking, hold on, there's something to be said for these well-being tips. So I'm going to share very quickly my number one well-being tip, right? Because we know, right, don't we? We know that the world essentially is neutral, right? It does not care whether it rains on you. It does not care whether you get a flat tire or whatever. You can have two materially very, very similar days, right? Give me a particular issue that I'm presented with when I'm having a good day. It's not a problem. I might leave it with me. I'll sort it out. So show me that absolutely same issue when things are going downhill rapidly, and it's a bloody big problem. So this is about taking initiative. What can you do that actually gets you off on the right footing? So, you might not be able to control what's coming at you, but if you're got off on a positive footing, you've put your best foot forward, then actually you are more likely to deal with it in a positive productive manner. So, without taking this a little bit too literally, I run. And today is, I've not run yet, but if it goes to plan, today is number 1,411 consecutive day of running. Now, I'm not saying, right, I'm not going very far. I'll be honest. I'm not going very fast. Occasionally, those runs are a little bit of a stagger. But I do it because I know, and for those of you listening to this, I'm just tapping my head. It works for this as well as for this, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like, I'm not trying to flex here. I didn't set off to say, right, I'm going to run for 1,411 days. I set off because I knew that putting my best foot forward, literally every day, worked for me. And I decided I was going to do it unless there was a good reason not to do it. And in 1,400 and however many days, there's not yet been a good reason. Am I allowed to say there's been tons of good excuses?
Oh, right.
Two aren't the same.
No, they're not the same. That's another podcast for another day, right? But that's great because I think it comes back to personal responsibility and all of these things, right? We've looked at, so Will says, don't listen to podcasts, or don't listen to self-help advice. And H says, just don't beat yourself up trying to be your best self. Just sometimes just chill, let a day happen to you. I'm talking about toothache and deja vu, which probably didn't make much sense to most people. Personal responsibility is a big deal. Going running every day is nice if you can. Got arthritis in my ankle, mate. Otherwise, is that an excuse? Could be an excuse. Could be a reason. Not sure. But I'll do things other than that. So I think, and go first. Going first being, that's leadership.
Yes.
That's leadership, really. It's leading by example, isn't it? So I think in terms of timings, because I don't know what Malcolm's attention span is like, and he'll be like saying, well, I preferred it when you're in your car, doing it on your iPhone. Don't like these guests of yours, because Malcolm will listen every time and he'll give us some feedback. So, but I'd like to thank Malcolm for tuning in, and anybody else who has bothered. Hopefully you found this useful and interesting. And I would say, well, thanks to the guests as well. Thanks, guys. You're just walking by, don't walk by the office again, or I'll drag you in next time if you're not careful. And thank you to everybody for listening, watching, and we'll see you next time for more of a theme around well-being that we can have a riff about. But enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Art of Brilliance podcast. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe and tell the world. A nice review would make our day. That's the very best way of getting like-minded people to tune into our very simple messages about happiness and human flourishing. If you've hated it, please keep quiet. Remember, the world has enough negativity already. Feel free to check out our training and the little shop of happiness at artofbrilliance.co.uk. Thanks again. See you next time for another amazing episode.